Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. Welcome back to the Fertility Dietitian podcast. In today's episode, we are diving into the research on fish oil, omega-3 fatty acids, and fertility. And honestly, this is one of those topics that I think deserves way more attention than it gets, because when couples are trying to conceive, especially if they've been trying for a while, most of the conversation becomes about hormones and ovulation timing, medications, procedures, yada, yada, yada. But very little attention gets paid to actual environment that the egg is developing in. And if you've been following along or listening to this podcast for a while, you know we talk a lot about the environment, and today's topic is no different. The egg is not developing in isolation. Your eggs are constantly responding to nutrient status, inflammation, blood sugar, oxidative stress, mitochondrial function, immune signaling, and the fats that literally make up the membrane of every cell in your body. And one of the most important nutrients involved in all of that is actually omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA from fish and fish oil. So today I want to break down the actual research on omega-3s and fertility, what the data is showing, why this matters for egg quality and implantation, and what I would recommend that every couple trying to conceive understands about fish oil, even before pregnancy. This is one of those foundational things that can completely shift the reproductive environment over time. And remember, fertility is responsive. Your body listens to the environment that you're creating for it. So let's get into it. A recent meta-analysis looked over 6,000 women across 11 different studies examining omega intake and fertility outcomes. And I love this study because it separated women conceiving naturally from women undergoing fertility treatment. And that matters because sometimes when we lump all fertility populations together, we miss the nuance. This analysis looked at fertilization rates, IVF pregnancy rates, spontaneous pregnancy rates, and overall omega-3 intake from fish and fish oil. And the findings were honestly pretty impressive. Women consuming higher amounts of omega-3 fatty acids had significantly better fertility outcomes, including more than double fertilization rates at the egg level, up to 75% higher odds of pregnancy during fertility treatment, and a 36% higher likelihood of pregnancy in women conceiving naturally. That's not small, and I think this is really important because we have to stop acting like nutrition only matters once you're pregnant. Nutrition is helping determine whether pregnancy happens in the first place. Your egg quality is built with the help of a lot of nutrients. Your hormone signaling is also very much driven by, supported by nutrients, and your inflammatory response is also heavily influenced by nutrients. Your uterine environment responds to nutrients, and omega-3 fats are deeply involved in all of these systems as a whole. So really all of the pieces of fertility are going to be influenced by nutrition. And omega-3 fats. One of the biggest roles in omega-3s, or that omega-3s play, is helping regulate inflammation. Inflammation itself is not bad, but we need inflammation for ovulation and for implantation and healing and immune system communication. But chronic inflammatory signaling is a completely different story. And this is something that I see constantly in practice. Women dealing with endometriosis or autoimmune patterns, elevated CRP, insulin resistance, poor gut health, recurrent miscarriage, diminished egg quality or implantation failure. all of these things often have an inflammatory relation. So there is a very inflammatory internal environment going on. And the modern diet is heavily skewed towards omega-6 fats. So most people are consuming massive amounts of inflammatory seed oils or processed fats and are barely getting enough omega-3s. So that balance definitely drives a more inflammatory environment as a whole. Some estimates suggest that people are actually eating ratios as high as 20 to 1 or even 30 to 1 omega-6s to omega-3s. That changes the cell membrane function. It changes inflammatory signaling. It changes hormone communication. And when you think about fertility through that lens, it makes perfect sense why this matters. It's because your ovaries are highly metabolic organs, and your eggs require enormous amounts of energy to mature. Your mitochondria need healthy fats to function properly, and DHA in particular becomes incredibly important for cellular integrity and communication. This is also where I want to clear up something that I hear all of the time. People might say, well, I eat flax seeds, so I'm getting omega-3s. And technically, yes, flax contains omega-3s in the form of ALA. But the body converts ALA into EPA and DHA very poorly. It's like less than 1% in many people. So this means that you cannot assume that your chia pudding or flax pudding is giving your ovaries what they actually need for reproductive function, because ALA is typically the type of omega-3 that we find in plant foods that contain omega-3s. And we need it to be that EPA and DHA to function how we want it to for reproduction. EPA and DHA from fish and seafood or high-quality fish oil are the forms most associated with fertility benefits in the literature. This becomes even more important during the preconception window because egg quality is highly responsive to the environment during those final months before ovulation, those 3 to 4 months prior to ovulation. And this is why I get frustrated when some women are told, just go straight to IVF. Without anyone asking first, what does the inflammatory environment look like? What does the mitochondrial health look like? What does fatty acid status look like? What nutrients are missing from the environment that this egg is developing in? IVF does not bypass biology. You still need healthy cellular communication. You still need healthy mitochondria. You still need implantation support. You still need receptive uterine environment. And I have seen women dramatically improve outcomes when we support those foundational systems as a whole first. We see better embryo quality, much better fertilization rates, much better progesterone production, healthier luteal phases also. And pregnancy after years of unexplained infertility, all because, again, fertility is responsive. And this definitely doesn't mean that fish oil alone is a magic answer. No, absolutely not. There's no single supplement that fixes fertility, and no single diet change really that fixes reproduction or fertility barriers either. But I do think omega-3s are one of the most foundational nutrients for reproductive health, especially because up to 95% of women in childbearing years are not consuming adequate EPA or DHA. So you're probably wondering, what do I actually recommend? First, we always want to be prioritizing food. Fatty fish is going to be your superstar for getting these omega-3s in really easy to use forms. Fatty fish includes our salmon and our sardines and our mackerel and our anchovies and our herring. These provide omega-3s in a form that the body can very easily, readily use. I also want couples focusing on lowering inflammatory fats from ultra-processed foods like fried foods, industrial seed oils, wherever possible, limiting these, making those swaps in the house, decreasing how much you're eating fast food. We actually see in other research that if you're eating fast food 3 or more times a week, we see decreased reproduction and just more fertility barriers, more inflammation, likely partially due to inflammation and types of fats that you're getting. Okay, so then from there, fish oil supplementation can absolutely be supportive, especially if you cannot get fish in consistently. Maybe you're allergic to fish and seafood, for instance. We can get supplementation with omega-3s that are not fish. Also, if you do happen to be allergic. If you do have endometriosis, we want a much higher dose. Typically, we still want to be supporting it with diet too. And that's something I should also say, like, even if you are taking a supplement, if it's possible for you to eat fish, fatty fish, you should do both. Honestly, we don't know everything about omega-3s. And typically the food is always going to be the first area to focus on. If you know you have elevated inflammation, a supplement can also be more supportive, additionally supportive. If you have recurrent loss, poor egg quality, diminished ovarian reserve, autoimmune patterns, or male factor fertility concern, supplementation is also important to consider too. Because remember, sperm health also responds to omega-3 status too. We know omega-3 support sperm membrane integrity, motility, morphology, and DNA health. And male fertility is never optional information in this conversation. If you are choosing a fish oil supplement, quality matters a lot. You want third-party tested, low oxidation, purified for contaminants, adequate EPA and DHA content, not just a random cheap capsule off a grocery store shelf. Some grocery stores might have really high quality ones, but don't get the random ones. I personally like couples starting these foundational changes at least 3 to 6 months before trying to conceive whenever possible, because that gives you time for egg maturation, sperm regeneration, which means significant improvements in quality, inflammatory shifts, and cellular changes to occur. This is not wasting time. This is preparing the environment for your future baby. This whole environment that your future baby will develop in, and it's going to impact the lifelong health of your future tiny human. And I think that shift in mindset is so important. Okay, your body is constantly responding to inputs, the foods you eat, the nutrients that you're getting in, able to absorb, able to replenish your stress load, your sleep, your toxic burden, your inflammation levels, your gut health. All of it becomes information for the reproductive system. And omega-3s are one of the clearest examples of how nutrition directly impacts fertility outcomes. So if nobody has talked to you before about this, let this be your reminder. Foundations matter. The environment matters. And supporting your body before pregnancy is never a wasted effort. If this episode resonated with you, send it to someone who is trying to conceive and wants to better understand how nutrition actually impacts fertility outcomes. And if you're ready to stop guessing and you want help identifying what your body specifically needs to support conception and healthy pregnancy, don't hesitate to reach out. I hope to see you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.